Life is sweet. Let it sweep you off your feet.
Hi, I'm Ali, and this is Find Your Joy. And today, I'm pretty darn excited. We have Consuela Muñoz. And Consuela is, she deals with people with shiny object syndrome, is one of the many things that she does. A speaker, an author, a trainer, a founder, CEO of, it looks like several things. This woman is pretty amazing. And we're going to explore together into all the wonder that is Consuela. Consuela, welcome.
Thank you, Ali. I'm super excited to be connected here today.
Yeah, I'm looking at all the things that you do, and I'm a little bit tired just reading it already, if I'm being honest. But I'm just it's awesome because I do this thing where I ask people questions and then I look at what you actually do and what you offer people. So this is going to be right up your alley. So I'm going to ask you this question, and I'm very excited to see what the pro shiny object person says. So in a world full of distractions, which especially in the last few years, man, we have had a lot of distractions. What inspires you?
Everything.
I
have a severe case of shiny object syndrome, right? So I have to work really hard to deal with it. And I was asked at another event, like, well, how do you, if you're in a summit and everybody's stuff is so amazing, what would tempt you? And I'm like, everything. I'm tempted by everything, right? I want all of it. I want all the things. I want all the experience. I want to do everything at the same time. And that gets me into trouble. And so I had to find a way around that.
And so how did you do that?
How did I do that? Well,
how did I do that? Well, that's an easy question, right? Well, is everybody sitting down?
It's simple, but it's not easy. That's the key, right?
Okay.
So one of the many things that I am and that I do, I am a Gallup Certified Strengths Coach. And so with that, it's a strengths assessment. So you figure out what is the most amazing thing about you. Everybody's like, well, what is your superpower? What is your strength? And you're like, you're trying to rummage around in your brain to find out what is my superpower. Like obviously it isn't X-ray vision. So I don't, so you take this assessment and from there, it tells you these are your strengths. And the thing about it, you answer the questions, but when you get this report, it's words on a page, black and white. And these words come from someone else. And when you read them, they are all the most amazing things about you. That's it. Everything on there is the most amazing thing about you. And there's no, I'm very much a strengths nerd, very much let's focus on what's working. Let's focus on the positive. And that's where we're going to play. And the more you do that, the more you grow your strengths, the less your weaknesses matter. So we're just going to put that out there.
Right.
Now, as far as, because if you're doing this and you're really amazing at it, who cares about those other things? We'll find somebody else to do that. We want you doing what you're doing. That's amazing.
Right. And what do you think it is? What is it? It's interesting. There is something about us innately. I'm not really sure, but most of us can't really figure that out on our own. Like that's the reality of it, right?
We have an idea, but it's different when it's in black and white on paper.
Yeah.
That's more firm, more concrete than just thoughts in our head. And the other thing is there's a bunch of other thoughts in our head, right? There's thoughts in our head saying, you suck at this and, you're not worth that. That is competing with the amazing you thoughts. But when you take the assessment, they only capture the amazing you. And then you get to read all of it at one time. And it's even just taking the assessment can raise your self-confidence by 20%. Just taking the assessment.
Just taking that because I guess it kind of narrows down. Because I know for myself, sometimes people have said to me, my gosh, you're really good at, fill in the blank, whatever that is. And I hadn't really thought of that before and you can tell me because you're the expert at this. I think that sometimes the things that we do really well, we don't know all the time we do it really well because we're just doing it. We're not really thinking that everybody else doesn't do it.
It's so natural. It's so
Right.
natural to you. It just like, this is my theory on common sense, right? People say, oh, common sense is not so common anymore, blah. But what I feel like is everybody has some common sense that is different based on what they're naturally good at. And so you're so good at it that you don't realize that other people have no idea what you're doing. They wouldn't know how to
Right.
do that at all. So your common
Right.
sense, like it's common sense. You just do A, B, and C, and somebody else is like, you do what? Like they have no idea because they don't have that strength.
Right. And I think that it's wonderful when I think of the people that this would be helpful for. I think of young people coming up, they're doing that, but what really stands out to me is people, in last the second half, or the third of their life, that have been doing things and are quite spectacular, but maybe don't know it, or reinventing themselves. Or tell me, how does that work with, is that your experience? Am I close?
Yeah, yes, definitely. You're like hit both the nails on the head, because I find a lot of folks that are, young adults that are looking at college and they're like, I don't know what to be at all. Like they don't know. Like this is
Right.
super helpful for them, can help them get some perspective on that. So I always like, and of course, once you take the assessment, you're like, why didn't I take this when I was younger? Right. So let's make sure that
Right.
they take it. But especially when you're hitting that second half, there's always going to be a point. And I know we're going to bring up the books, but my one book is called The Day She Stopped. And
Hmm.
it's right before I hit that second stage. Right. So
Right.
here's the deal. One day I'm walking into work, and I'm walking down, and I can still picture exactly the place in the hallway. The sun was coming in, and I'm walking, and I just came to a stop. And it felt like the whole world did. And yet they didn't. They kept moving. But I had this thought that my entire life, I was just average. Everything about me is average. Like I'm pretty, but not gorgeous. I'm smart, but not a genius. I'm average
Right.
height. Okay, let's face it, I'm a little bit short, but okay. But everything, I go to work every day, do all the same stuff, go home every night, and day after day, week after week, year after year of the same. And what is the point of that?
Hmm.
And I knew, like, okay, I'm meant for more than this. So
Right.
what am I going to do about it? And so how do I use my strengths to figure that out? And I think a lot of people get to some point when they're just going to work and they're working, and we did the things we're supposed to. I went to college, got my degree, got a career, got married, had kids, do all the things. But really, what am I doing? What is my purpose? This got to be more than this. And I think a
Right.
lot of us hit that stride and say, you know what? I'm meant to do more than this, and I'm going to do it. And that's when you take that second half. And knowing your strengths can give you the confidence to step away from what might be seen as more secure into that better place.
Hmm.
That place where
Right.
you are more, you're meant for more, you're there, your purpose, your joy, you have found it, you're doing it.
Right. And I'm guessing too that even what might seem like not, again, I'm just sort of guessing around here, like if something that might not seem like if it's the thing that you're created for, if it's the thing that gives you passion, then no matter what that is going to be the more.
I
It
agree,
Right? It
100%.
might not be for you, it might not be the more, but for me, it might be something that, oh my gosh, this is fabulous.
They have on it, like on the Today shows and all those shows, and they'll talk about do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life. And they always show some person climbing a mountain. And I'm like, you know, that's never going to be me. Like, I don't want to climb a mountain. So, but they always have somebody doing that kind of thing. Like that's the more, and that's not my more at all. But you have to find what your own more is. You have to find that thing that you want to do that
Yeah.
lights you up, so what you love doing, what you're naturally good at doing, and what you feel is your
Mm,
passionate about. When you find that, that's your more, that's what you're meant to do. And finding that, most people don't have the courage to look for it, let alone find it.
Right. I wonder how many people don't even know they're missing it yet. Like the day before you stopped, right?
Right.
Like all those days before,
Right.
there was 364 days before that one. And do you think you were questioning before that? Did you know?
I had it like, there was a bit of things. I feel like anytime something big like that happens, there's like several things in different places in your life kind of happening at the same time, kind of like a volcano, right? And it just, all of a sudden they all meet together and boom, now you're like, you have this loud thought, this epiphany, and you have to do something with that. I have to do something with this. I can't let this pass but usually it is a buildup of this thing and that thing,
Right. And then,
but you have to be willing to see it. You have to be willing to see it.
Right. And I get that sometimes for some people at some moments in their life, they feel like they can't do that. And that might be a financial reason. That might be all the, whatever it is, right? I mean, there can seem like that for a lot of people, that isn't attainable. What do we say to those people to help? What are some of the things that you might suggest for those people that are there, right? And we can both think of a whole bunch of reasons why people might not, right? They might be the sole provider. They might be, I don't know. I mean, there's a whole bunch of reasons why people are afraid to imagine that there's more, or afraid to take the steps out. What are some of the things that you do with people to help them to get past that?
Well, really, it's a conversation.
Right.
Let's talk about that. And if you're not, I get it, you're not ready, but let's have a conversation, and you don't have to do anything, but let's take a look at it. Let's look at it, and not to puff my own hair up here, but my strengths are communication, woo, which is winning others over, futuristic, positivity, and activator. And so I have a really natural way of being able to think about what that future could look like,
right?
How amazing it could be,
right?
And be able to explain it in such a way that you can see it. You can see what that future could be for you. And so for me, it's a conversation. Let's just talk about, what would it look like? You don't have to do anything. You don't have to do anything you don't want to do, but let me plant that seed. I don't say plant that seed to them, but that's what I'm doing. I'm planting the seed of what their future could be, and making them be somewhat aware that there could be another option. Right. And a lot of times, because it's stories we tell ourselves. Right. But I can't leave because it'll be more, I'm safe where I am here. I'm secure where I am here. I'm afraid of that. Those are things you definitely have to get over them, or it won't work.
Exactly.
You can't even imagine getting over them unless you can see a different future.
Right. In any way. So, when you're talking, I'm thinking about my own life, and about in the days when I was a single mom, right? And I was, you just have this job. You're probably not making a lot of money. So even the fear about not making enough money is, in some cases, in mine it was, others, that might not be their thing. But for mine, I can remember being at a place where I was a single mom. I didn't have a lot of money. I didn't have an education. I didn't have a lot of skills. I was a really hard worker. I had that going for me. But the other things I didn't. And I remember when I decided I was just going to make it work. And it was really hard. I'm going to tell you, right? I was going to college, and I was also working. So there was ways that was hard. There's things that, there's things you give up along the way, right? There's some times that, if you're working full time and going to school full time and you have kids, something's going to give, right? I mean, but I remember that I just knew that I had to do that. And even when and I did that several times over the years, right? Then stop for a while and do things. But it's like what you're saying. I would tell someone that, it might be hard, and you don't have to do it all right now. That's what you said. And I liked that. because when we first see that we're not living our best life, perhaps it feels like if I don't have it all what I should be doing, then it's nothing.
Nothing.
And that's not the truth.
That's not the truth.
That's not even close to the truth. That's
close.
more of the, I don't know. I was thinking of someone I was speaking to. That's more of the lie that would keep us from getting there at all. So it's little pieces. So part of what when you do your coaching, is that then part of it? So you show someone and you get to say, okay, wow, look at these amazing strengths you have. And then if they're at the opposite spectrum of as many of us are, right, when we find out that, where's the bridge? How does that work?
Well, and so a lot of my coaching, I'm really working with people that kind of know they want to be doing that thing.
Right. That's why they've come.
Right. And if they're to the point where they're trying to figure out and they're able to do a lot of things, they've been working for a while, they're good at this, they're good at this, they're good at this. And that's where that shiny object syndrome comes in, because they're like, okay, I could do all these things.
Oh,
which one are you going to pick? And I'll do some of this and I'll do some of this. And the problem with that is when you try to do a bit of all the things, you're going to burn out and you're going to get overwhelmed. Your stress level is going to hit the roof. It could affect your health. And the next thing you don't know, you're doing nothing. You're like, I'm so overwhelmed. I'm doing nothing. And what happens then? You stop. And when you're at stop, there's no forward motion towards your goals at all.
Right.
So how can we figure out a way, when you have all these things you could do, to focus? And so you can get into gear, is what I say. Let's get into gear. Let's find a way that we can focus. And so as someone who also has this, I'm not coming to you with like, all right, you're going to do step A through whatever. We're going to look at your strengths and we're going to use them to help us deal with our shiny object syndrome. We're going to deal with any weaknesses we have based in from our strengths. And when I say get into gear, I'm talking about your goals. Your goals have to be, when you read them, you need to have a strong, positive, emotional response. That goal has to be so important to you that none of the other things can distract you.
Right.
You're going for that goal. Then we've got E, right? Evaluate every idea. Evaluate your idea against that super strong goal. And so I have this tool. It's the impact board. It's a whiteboard, and it's got two areas. You put your goal on it, and then it's got action and distraction. So you evaluate your latest idea. Oh, I should write a book. Oh, okay. Should I write this book? Is it going to help me with my goal right now? If yes, it's an action. If it's a great idea and it's something I should do, but it's not going to help me with my goal right now, that's a distraction. And now I store it there. I want to write a book. It's in my distraction area, but I'm not thinking about it. I'm not spending any money on it. I'm not spending any time on it. It's not getting any of my energy, but I haven't forgot it. So it's stored and I can come to it when I need to. Right. And that way we only are doing the things, the actions that will help us with our goal right now. And then for the others, having your own accountability and reward system ties back into that goal. You see a theme here, right? The accountability, for me, accountability is ownership. Do you own that you want that goal or not? If you own it and you will commit to it, you are going to do the actions that achieve the goal. Now, one of the things with my group that we operate on the 12-week year. And so that way we think about time in a different way. Right. And it gives us that urgency and that focus to bring us in. So we're going to do one main thing in 12 weeks. And this isn't like somebody could say, oh, that's like quarterly goals. It is, but it's not, because we're thinking about time in a different way. And we're not thinking about what is my whole goal for the whole year. And this is a quarterly thing. And if I don't hit it, I'll work on it next quarter. No. What is your goal for this 12 weeks? That's what you're doing. If you're writing a book, in 12 weeks, I'm writing this book. How am I going to write this book in 12 weeks? That's what I'm doing. You know, if you're going to launch a podcast, that's what you're doing in these 12 weeks. And so what you're doing there doesn't have to anything to do with your next 12 weeks. It's not a continuation. But you're doing that one thing. You have up to 3 goals in your 12-week year, and you're focusing just on the actions you have to take that are going to get you there. And we prioritize all the, you can think of all the actions that could maybe help you achieve this. But what are the top 3 actions you have to take? Those are the ones you're going to be working on, but also identifying what is that one thing. If I do this action on a regular basis, it'll help me achieve my goal. And that has to happen no matter what. And if anything else, you can't do it. As long as you can do that one thing, you're going to get there. And that's what we do.
I love that. What I really like about it is that for people who aren't finding their joy, for people who aren't living their best life, it gives, like you're saying, it's an action plan, because that's what it's all about, is how do we get there? So I know I'm here. I know I don't like where I am. I have no idea what I might need to do to get there. So we're picking one thing. We're working on that for 12 weeks to completion. After that, whatever comes after that will be after that.
Next 12 weeks, that's its own thing. That's its own thing. Right. We'll do whatever we're doing in that 12 weeks.
But for this 12 weeks, and so I love that. And so I would say for listeners, here we are. Now, if you're in a position that you can go and you can work with someone like Consuela, my gosh, do it. It will change your life. But here's the giveaway here today. If you can't, know that you need to pick something, one thing, and work on that for 12 weeks. I love that. And the other thing that you are very generously offering is this squirrelquiz.com. Tell us about that.
So shiny objects, distraction. Most of you probably, if you haven't seen the movie Up, you've seen this clip at least. There's a dog in there and he's like, squirrel, like constantly distracted, right? And through some of the work I've been doing, I came to realize we're not chasing squirrels. We are the squirrels. We are squirrels, right? And so I've created this quiz. It's based loosely on strengths. What type of squirrel are you? And so you take this quiz to find out what are the types of distractions that are most likely going to get in your way. What are the ones you got to watch out for? Like, oh, this is what I tend. Oh, yes, I do tend to do that. Okay, now when you know something, you can deal with it. When it's kind of vaguely an issue, it's hard to deal with.
Right, right.
So go to squirrelquiz.com, find out what kind of squirrel are you.
Yes, because ultimately, you are either living your best life right now and you are so full of joy and it's fabulous and it's wonderful and my gosh, we're so happy for you. If anything less than that is happening, let's find a way to get there, because ultimately we heal the planet one person at a time, and people living their best lives and finding their joy is how we're going to get there, right? I love this. I love so much of what you're sharing, and I love that you've given our listeners today a few things to think about. That if they some strategies, some ways to get there. I'm going to really suggest that they find you. So how do they find you? How do we find you?
If they take the quiz, we'll be connected that way. But otherwise, my website is ownyourconfidence.com. And if they can go in there if they want to take the strengths assessment, that's in there. But that's another way that they can find me.
That's amazing. This is great. Well, is there anything that we have not, that you haven't shared yet, that you would love to tell the listeners today?
This is something that drives me each day. And that is that the more we focus, the more we impact. And we are meant to impact the world.
Oh, We are meant to impact the world. True story.
Yeah.
Consuela, thank you so much. I so appreciate it. I loved what you said. I feel like there's another meeting for us in the future somehow. I'm not sure how that's going to work, but I really appreciate how generously and graciously you have shared so much with the audience today, so much with the listeners about the giveaways. To go to squirrelquiz.com. If you don't have a 12-week plan already, get one, make one, do it on your own, or contact Consuela. And thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate it. I love the things that you said.
It was a joy and a blast to be here with you today.
Thanks so much. Okay, well, everyone, thanks so much. This is Ali. This is Find Your Joy, and go on out there and find out what it is that your shiny object, and deal with it and get your best life happening. Thanks for coming out today. Thanks so much for joining me today. If you found a piece of your joy in this episode, I would love to hear about what came up for you so that we can continue to grow the impact of this show. Thanks again. See you soon. And remember, find your joy.